All right, here we are live talking to you after this Indiana victory over Missouri. Indiana went into Columbia today, won 31-27 against Missouri in just a shock result. I'm joined here by Mike Petrie. First, Mike, how you feeling?
I feel fantastic, as every Hoosier fan should. It's this one's been a long time coming.
It's just this is not something that I think any of us expected. Certainly, we didn't post that this was something that we expected on the Crimson Cast. This was just a shock result, not only in the actual result itself, because anything can happen in a football game. You could see a team turn the ball over 8 times like we did against Oregon in 2004
Right.
and pull off a result. This was a result that Indiana earned based on domination of both sides of the line of scrimmage. It wasn't just shocking that Indiana was able to put this together. How they won it was just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we've seen games like this so many times in the past where IU would play very well against a good opponent and would be able to keep them in their sights, or maybe had a lead late or had it tied late. But this was the first time that they've actually done all of that and then finished the job. So, I mean, more than anything, to have a situation where you are playing a top 25 team, a legitimate top 25 team from the SEC, from God's country, and you're able to take their best shot at the end of the game and then bounce back and say, okay, that's fine, and go straight down the field. That, more than anything, is what's rewarding about this game.
It's just amazing because Indiana got a positive play or got positive production from just about every spot on the field today. I mean,
Absolutely,
you look at I mean, the running backs, I can't tell you, every one of the running backs who touched the ball, which is just shocking when you hear that Tevin Coleman goes down in the first quarter and isn't seen for an entire quarter of this game.
Right.
Divine Redding and D'Angelo Roberts came in and just put the team on their back for a couple of possessions, and really the production that Indiana was able to get out of the running back position, regardless of who was toting the rock, was really impressive.
That touchdown drive when right after Coleman had gone out, and it was basically all Roberts. I mean, that was as important of a touchdown and as important of a drive as you're going to see in IU probably all year. The fact that they were able to respond to the adversity and everything that they had to deal with, the same old Hoosiers, here we go again, and had every reason to have an excuse to say, okay, well, that was a nice quarter, but now reality sets in. That was a nice start, but now reality sets in. We're not going to do this without Tevin Coleman, without our best player, best running back. It didn't matter. Whatever came up, they were able to overcome it.
And of course, I posted in the immediate reaction on Crimson Cast that Tevin Coleman in the second half actually ended up having his Willis Reed moment. I mean, he came out and in the second half, just made some plays that gave Indiana a real chance. And that screenplay, that doesn't happen for us.
No. Well, what doesn't happen for us is to miss out on a 4th and 5 and then have that pass interference call to give IU life once again. That never happens. Call.
Just you're absolutely right that it never happens, but that was the right call. I mean,
it absolutely was. There have been times in the past, and I obviously can't verify this with actual video evidence, but I'm fairly certain that there have been 11 people tackling the wide receiver before the ball got there, and they wouldn't call pass interference in that situation.
Oh man, and it's so I just cannot believe the turnaround that we saw from this defense. We talked about it on the podcast this past week. All hope wasn't necessarily lost for the defense because, as we said, they actually did a pretty good job on a per play basis. It's just the defense this time around was able to string a few plays together, and instead of just giving up the 5 yards on a 3rd and 4. I mean, they were able to string a few plays together and really hold this Missouri team to really a pretty pedestrian day offensively.
Absolutely. What it really looked like, it looked like what the IU offense does a lot of times when they lose, which is explosive. They were able to get big plays and let everybody know, okay, this is a really good offensive team. And at the end of the day, it has 300, 400 yards, but they weren't in a lot of situations. They weren't able to get 5 yards on a 3rd and 4. They were getting 1 or 2, or they were getting sacked. The number of tackles for a loss from the IU defense today was just outstanding.
It was a real shock after James Napke barely had his jersey dirty.
Right.
Or Kanapke, excuse me. I mean, with Bowling Green State, I mean, they were able to protect him very easily. We sat back, but this week it just was a complete 180. I mean, you look at it, Matty Mock was running all day, and credit to him. I mean, he was able to really extend some plays and really give Missouri I mean, he carried Missouri for a good portion of the game, but man,
Sure.
I just cannot believe the amount of pressure that this Indiana defense was able to put on that Missouri quarterback.
And we saw the downsides of it on a few plays, especially that last touchdown drive where he was starting to kind of get the sense of what IU's defense was doing. It was sort of like as soon as whatever position IU was blitzing from, that was where the receiver was going to be, and it was a great job by him seeing the receiver really ahead of time, and it was just pitch and catch for that last touchdown drive.
Yeah.
But because it took him so long to get to that point, IU's defense really had flustered him for a good portion of that second half.
It really the defense you see it so often where the Indiana offense just starts out a little bit slow, and today it was a slow start from this Indiana offense in really both halves, and still the Indiana defense was able to hold for just long enough to let the offense find their rhythm. So I mean, we can talk all day, and I know that we're going to have a lot of great coverage on this on Tuesday, and of course you've got a Crimson Cast Live with Scott and Galen coming tomorrow as well. I mean, let's just talk real quick about how this win may change the trajectory for this Indiana season. I mean, you come in from last week, and everyone is just ready to throw in the towel, saying we're going to get our butts kicked at Missouri. We don't have a prayer. People were saying that the chances at best of Indiana making a bowl game are 25% at this point. Right. I mean, certainly this is the same Indiana team that we saw last week against Bowling Green State, and you can't get too high or too low after a win or a loss, respectively. But I mean, it just changes everything for this Indiana team right now that they were able to take this gut check and keep on punching.
Yep, absolutely. More than anything, what it does is it puts IU back on the same footing that we thought they were going to be after 3 games. After the Bowling Green game, when it was all said and done, and those who were not completely panicking said, well, now you have to go steal one. Well, guess what? It didn't take very long. They went and stole the one game that they needed. Now you're back to where you look at that preseason schedule and you say, okay, there were 8 games that I really thought IU had a chance at winning, and to be honest, Missouri won one of them. And so, you're back to, okay, you need to find 4 more games that you can win. There are definitely winnable games out there, and I'll be honest, there are some games that I would not have expected to be winnable going into the season that now. Pretty much everything outside of Ohio State's on the table. Has Michigan really impressed you to the point where you say, oh, well, no, there's no way they can beat them. Oh, there's no way they can beat Michigan State. I thought you were talking
about the Michigan game, because that game now, and of course, it's a long season. I mean, who knows what Indiana team's going to show up against Maryland next week, but. Right. That Michigan game is looking a little more winnable than it may have before the season started. So it really does change the trajectory for this Indiana season. It gives a little bit of hope. On Twitter, someone posted the Indiana victory flag going up, saying, "Is that the victory flag?" And all I can respond to that is no. It's hope. It gives Indiana hope for getting the result that they thought they could get out of this season. We're back on schedule instead of third and 10. Right now, we're facing a very manageable 3rd and 5. I mean, so it really does change the trajectory for this season. And honestly, I mean, it should put a real kick in the ass to this Indiana fan base.
Absolutely. And I've never been one who really gets on fans for showing up, not showing up, whatever you want to do. But whatever you can appreciate about sports outside of just the wins and losses aspect of it, you've got to appreciate about this Indiana team, because more than anything, this was a resilient effort. This was taking a punch in the gut last week and coming back from it, and this was taking a punch in the gut with the 90-yard drive that led to a field goal, puts you down at 27-24, and again, kind of get in that same old Hoosiers feeling and responding to that and saying, no, we're going down the field, we're putting the ball in Tevin Coleman's hands, and we're going to score a touchdown here. I will point out, and this is the Indiana fan in me speaking, of when Tevin Coleman was racing down the right sideline, and I'm just listening to it on the radio, my initial thought was, no, don't score yet. Don't score yet. Don't give them a full minute to come back down the field, because I learned too well.
They almost got they had 22 seconds and they got about 30 because of that. It would have been the most Indiana thing in history for us to give up a touchdown on a roughing the passer call that frankly was just absurd.
Absolutely.
I mean, there is no excuse for making that call that does not end in blatant home cooking.
Right. That was a call that looked up at the scoreboard and said, "Wait, that's not how this script ends. Hold on."
Oh God. It's just a special night for Indiana fans everywhere, and certainly you just hope that they can keep it going against Maryland. So
absolutely.
We've of course we'll be coming at you on Tuesday for another edition of the Hoosier Hurry-Up. We certainly appreciate you joining us today. I mean, it's this. We hope that you don't belabor us for an emergency podcast. In this case, this is a massive win for Indiana, and certainly go out there tonight and enjoy it, Hoosier fans. So, Mike, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks so much. Victory bacon in the morning.
Victory bacon all day.
There you go.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Hoosier fans. Join us tomorrow for Crimson Cast Live and on Tuesday for another edition of the Hoosier Hurry Up. Take care, everyone.